Ici Londres.
The EU, says Jean-Claude Juncker, the President of the European Commission, is interfering too much. It's legislating in domains that ought properly to be left to the nation-states. Well, quite right, Mr. Juncker. As our national poet says, there needs no ghost, my lord, come from the grave to tell us this. But here's the thing. Fully 10 years ago, Mr. Juncker's predecessor, José Manuel Barroso, promised that he would review and repeal all the unnecessary European Commission directives and regulations, that he would allow far more devolution of power to the member states. In fact, 10 years before that, in 1995, a previous Luxembourg president of the European Commission, Jacques Santer, came to office promising to, quote, do less and do it better. And yet here we are, 20 years on, with almost no field of national government untouched by EU directives. See, the mistake people make about Europe is they think it's remote. They think it's something that happens across the channel. You know, it may be corrupt and expensive, but it doesn't directly impact on our lives. But that's not true. If it was simply a cross-border international arrangement, no one would have a problem with it. We wouldn't now be having this argument. We wouldn't now be having this referendum. The reality is that virtually everything we do is on some level touched by Brussels regulation. The hassle of opening a bank account these days with all of your old utilities bills and so on, that's the EU's money laundering directive. Fortnightly instead of weekly recycling collection, that's the EU's landfill directive. The ban on minimum pricing for alcohol, that's the EU's technical standards directive. Now, it's not that the EU is wrong about all these things, but how did we reach the point where such matters need to be handed down uniformly to 600 million people in Europe instead of being determined through our local or national democratic mechanisms? I am required by law to drive my children around in car seats until they reach either a minimum age or a minimum height. I've been looking forward to discarding the wretched yogurt-encrusted blobs at a much earlier stage. I speak obviously of the car seats, not of the children. The point is not whether I'm a good or bad father. The point is, how did we reach the point where those things are determined continentally by the European Commission instead of through the national democratic mechanisms and procedures of each country? And it's going to carry on getting worse. It's true that there has been a slight reduction in the legislative flow over the last year. And do you know why that is? Because all the really contentious stuff has been put in the fridge until after the UK referendum. The proposals on harmonising social security, the ruinous Port Services Directive that was pulled from the vote just before it went through so as to spare British public opinion in the run-up to the referendum. The new rules for a higher budget. All of this stuff will come out in a rush should we make the mistake of voting to remain on the 23rd of June. We can't say that we haven't been warned.